We've repaired the bowsprit for the final time. This is like Ian's magic power.
4,000 meters of water in open sea. Whilst underway, I'm going to take the speed log wheel out.
Maybe you could have seen it coming with our luck that we've had on this passage.
I'll encourage the sharks in and then you can take over.
Oh my goodness, why do we try these things in the middle of an ocean?
So delighted. I needed this win.
Obviously, that did not go to plan.
So we're hand steering because the autopilot is, I don't know, the autopilot's unhappy.
Right now, we're hoping that this is our rescue plan.
We didn't think.
There's a win! Last time on Red Seas, we had to take emergency action when our power got so low we thought we wouldn't make it through the night. We started eating everything out of the freezer in case we had to switch it off, but thankfully the sun came back just in time to save us. We had just enough wind to fly the spinnaker, but we didn't realise this would be the last time before disaster struck and our spinnaker completely ripped from one side to the other. Needing a new downwind plan, we repaired our bowsprit after it broke off in big swell, and now we're just about ready to test it out. So some of you might have noticed that we have had this big blue bag tied up and strapped down on deck for pretty much the entire crossing, and we have never mentioned it. Right now, we're hoping that this is our rescue plan. We actually have another sail in here. We're going to call it a gennaker. I don't know if that's the right term. Basically, about a year and a half ago, somebody gave us this sail. They had it on a 65-foot catamaran. They never used it. They just wanted rid of it, so they passed it on to us. However, they're both 65 foot long. Ours is only 47. So the sail was too big for us to fly it as a Genoa. And that was largely the driving force behind us building the bowsprit that we put on back in St. Martin. We've actually tried to set it up twice on this crossing already. The first time when we took it out of the bag, it wasn't furled up or anything, it was just folded. So we hoisted it just loose on a halyard. And when we furled it up, we had accidentally run the furling line the wrong way around on the drum. So it furled up inside out, which isn't really a problem. It just means that the UV protective strip wasn't doing its job and it was hiding inside. Then the second time we tried to lift it, it was already furled, and this happened. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, now. Obviously, that did not go to plan, but everything is safe, packed down, and we're just trying to lower our heart rates and calm down a little bit. That wasn't quite so fun, was it?
Some of the things, when you can boil it back down to one mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
We're both sleep deprived, which is probably the first mistake, but that one mistake was the furling line wasn't secure when we raised the sail, so lifting the halyard. And because it wasn't secure, that meant that the sail, when it got buffeted in the wind, started to unravel, which meant we had sail out with some tension on a sheet. Whoa. And then it very quickly erupted into chaos. Yeah, so as we were lifting it, we thought, let's attach the furling drum to the bowsprit before we've lifted the whole halyard up because there'll be less weight on it and it might be easier to manage. But then it meant that we were toying between, should we fix the furling line first or should we finish lifting the halyard first? And I guess we just picked the wrong one. Now we know it's always the furling line. Always the furling line. Because when we unfurl the Genoa, I unlock the clutch and it doesn't just fully balloon out. You need to pull it out. So I just kind of thought it would be the same, but I guess without the tension in the halyard, it meant it was already ballooning slightly and therefore just had enough power in it to go vroom. Yeah, and then when we tried to furl it back up just by brute force, by that point it had a balloon in the wrap, so it wasn't nice and tightly wrapped like a candy cane. It was like a bulging blister of sail that then sort of back furled on itself, so it wasn't going to go the rest of the way. It kind of got caught in itself, but at least the power was out of it, so then it was just a case of getting it down as quickly as we could. And we had just left the camera on the step, not expecting that to happen, so it probably happened off camera, but I dropped the halyard a little bit too quickly and part of it went into the sea, but not a whole ton. Not a whole ton, and it's probably good if the camera didn't pick it all up because there was some choice words being used at that point in time. Yes, we'll be muting the dialogue track. Some bleeps required, I think, because it wasn't exactly going well.
Oh my goodness, why do we try these things in the middle of an ocean? Like, come on. I mean, at least we didn't have to think about, oh, are we going to hit anything? We could just focus on getting the sail down. But
I mean, we're probably going to catch a fish, hit a whale.
I know, we've got the fishing lines out in all this. We're absolutely ridiculously stupid. What would have happened if we got a mahi at that point? Oh, wait a second, let me just go reel it in.
Actually, that's an interesting call. Which one would you go for? Save the sail or save the mahi?
I would save the boat, I'm afraid.
Boat wins?
Boat wins, always.
I suppose mahi. If it was wahi, different conversation.
And so we're going to try for the third time today. The winds are much lighter, so that should be something in our favour. We've repaired the bowsprit for the final time. We don't have any rivets left, so if that breaks again, then this whole plan goes up in smoke. The end goal is that we can fly at the same time as the Genoa and have the kind of wing-on-wing super downwind effect, because without the spinnaker and in these light winds, we are just going absolutely nowhere, and I really can't face another 3 weeks at sea.
I'm so delighted. I needed this wind. It's been a couple of days of kind of torture wanting this to work, and I just can't get over it.
This is like Ian's magic power. He has like a robot brain, and he can like just look at a space in front of our boat that's, I don't know, 16 meters long or something, and be like, I think that's about this long. Literally, we got our
16 meters, 88 centimeters, I reckon.
16 meters, 88, okay, yeah, that's what I thought too. But like, our bowsprit is a random part off a different boat. Our furler is just a furler that we found secondhand. We made soft shackles, so they're just a random length. And it fits perfectly. How does somebody do that? How does your brain work? It's weird.
It's not random. It's guesstimate.
It's magic.
It works. Look, we have a gennaker screecher thing. And in theory, we can then undo the Genoa to the other side, and we can do a wing on wing, and it will look like that dinosaur in Jurassic Park with the frills. Lost the Kraken. What's another sea monster that, Nessie?
Nessie! Ah.
All right, Nessie it is.
Oh, Ian is so right. We totally needed this wind. This morning I went into I call it our halfway down cupboard, because it's like not up in the galley, but it's not down in the cabin. It's just sort of on the stairwell. And it's where we keep our pasta, a lot of our dry goods, our biscuits, our crackers. And yeah, it was just filled with Weevils, the delight of Weevils. And we've kind of got away with it so far. But yeah, this week was not our week. And pretty much our entire pasta provisions are just completely gone and turned to dust. I know that some people just say, oh, boil it up anyway, it's extra protein. But when your pasta is like 80% protein, I feel like that's a step too far. So most of our pasta has had to go overboard, and I had to just battle with cleaning that cupboard. I saved you the horror of filming it. It was absolutely foul. I've put what little food there is left into the freezer to try and kill off any eggs, but there's not that much space in our freezer, so I've done what I can. But yeah, I was feeling a little bit beaten up by the crossing this morning. It's day 28, and before we left, we sort of thought we would be arriving by now. So it's getting to the hard end, but now we can smile again. We've got something has gone right. Hooray! Well, sadly, that didn't last long. Maybe you could have seen it coming with our luck that we've had on this passage. But we noticed that the Dyneema torsion line and the Dyneema bobstays were starting to stretch out, which is what we expected. But to tighten them up, we thought the best thing to do would be to drop the furled sail, and then we would have more control to tighten everything up and then put it up again when we next used it. However, in our tiredness, 28 days at sea, we loosened the bobstays before we dropped the halyard. And so there was nothing holding the bowsprit down. And as the huge sail swung as we dropped it. The force on the bowsprit just pinged it straight up and broke it off the crossbar again. And now we don't have enough rivets to fix it, so that's it dead for the rest of the passage. Yeah, no gennaker on this crossing, which really sucks. But, you know, we decided we've got a choice. We can either moan and mope about it and complain and grumble, which admittedly is what I have been doing for the last 2 weeks, I'm sorry. Or we can just put all of our energy into enjoying this crossing, because we don't want to get to the other side and for people to ask us, oh, how was your crossing? And for us just to complain about it and to say, oh, never again, it was the worst thing ever. We want to be able to focus on the positives and the highlights and remember the good parts. And so that's just now what we are going to doggedly do. We're going to look for the good things. So we sat on the trampolines and we watched the sunset, and it was amazing. And then we came out to the cockpit. I just played some karaoke playlist as loud as we possibly could out of the cockpit speakers and just danced around like crazy people and laughed. And I don't think I had laughed for, I don't know, days. And that's weird. That's not like us. So there's going to be hard things. There's going to be things going wrong. I get that. But new perspective is we're just going to do what we can to enjoy the crossing. So it's 4 o'clock in the morning. We are going along at 2.5 knots. We've got about 9 knots of wind. So yeah, we're crawling, but in about a day and a half, the wind should feel back in, and we've still got a Genoa and we've still got a mainsail, and we will get there. We do have enough food. I have to throw a lot of the pasta away, but we definitely still have enough food to get us there. We have a whole bunch of diesel, but we're cautious of using the engine because we've had a couple of problems with it. So yeah, we're going to stop complaining now. You can relax. We're going to enjoy ourselves again. And at some point this year, we might arrive in French Polynesia. The winds have moved around, so instead of coming from the east directly behind us, they've come from more southeast further round to our side. So it means that it's a little bit rollier, but the good thing, we can actually put our mainsail up again. If we're too far downwind, the mainsail just shades the Genoa and then kind of swings in the swell and clashes and bangs and makes horrible noises. So at least with the wind far enough around on our beam, actually sail. We've got speed again. We can move at more than 3 knots. So yeah, we're going about 6 knots today, and the world just feels so much better. I was saying before we left that I reckon the hardest thing about this crossing was going to be the mental side of it, just kind of keeping our spirits up when everything was going wrong. And yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest challenges. It's like the sheer relentlessness of this journey. There's nothing we can do to stop and take a break. If we are really tired, we can't just, pull over to an island, drop anchor and get some sleep, or stop the waves from crashing into the side of the boat all the time. It is non-stop, and all we can do is just keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other and hope that one day we'll arrive. And to be honest, with only 2 of us on board, most of the time one of us is asleep. In fact, last night I literally fell asleep whilst I was making dinner. It was almost done and I was just waiting, and I was feeling a bit like wobbly in the swell. So I was like, I'll just lie down for, 3 seconds while the water boils. And I woke up literally an hour later, and Ian had finished making the dinner and eaten it. So yeah, today I think we're on to Operation Sleepy Catch-Up Time. And that is our priority.
The old Raymarine autopilot, which you might remember we installed a new one not that long ago, and had a lot of fun trying to work out how to install one. Well, it's been causing us quite a lot of problems. So I think on average every about 3 minutes, but usually it's every 30 seconds, we've been getting what's called a wind shift alarm come up on the head unit for the old Raymarine autopilot. Now, the system carries on sailing, and actually Wayfinder tells us nothing's really changed, all is well, the boat's still happy and stable, but this system keeps beeping. And so you have to come up to the helm, you've got to go over to this grey unit over here, and you've got to hit cancel just to make the alarm shut up, which is driving us crazy. But this morning on my shift I had an idea. I think Our autopilot that controls the direction of the boat is being upset by our speed log wheel, which is the little paddle wheel that lives under the boat that tells everything how fast through the water we're going. And these are notoriously bad because they always foul up and they stop working very well. And our speed log, sure enough, has been displaying like 1 knot a lot of the time when we're going 5 or 6. So today I have bitten the bullet in 4,000 meters of water in open sea. Whilst underway, I'm going to take the speed log wheel out and give it a clean. I've never done this at anchor, and even then there's usually a lot of water and fuss. So I hope I'm not about to sink the boat.
I can't believe we're about to do this. Who does this? I can't tell how high up the geyser of water is going to come to see if it's going to like get me wet.
They're quite high, I think. Okay.
Oh, this is so terrifying. What are we doing? Moment of truth, here we go. And we have a handover.
Oh, wow. That'll be why it's not working. Okay.
Step 2, get the plug in the hole.
This is the one that's going to make a mess.
We can do it, we can do it, we can do it. Yay! It's almost sealed.
Not yet sealed.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. That went better than the ones we've done in the past. We should do it underway in Pacific Ocean more often.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, that's the way to do it. Just, you need to have more water underneath you. Wow. There you are. Quite grabby.
Our good friend Joe has always told me that you can fix anything with a bottle of vinegar. So that's what we're going to try. We're going to basically just give this sensor an acid bath and leave it in the vinegar for a while just to see if any of this can just dissolve away. And we'll have a little scrape with a blunt knife or something. And then after that, we'll put it back in and see if it works.
Okay, how's it looking?
It's looking a lot cleaner, I think. So yeah, we'll put it back in, I guess, and see what happens. I don't know if I've ever told everyone this tip or not. So I read about this or heard about this in a podcast or something. If you want to try and reduce growth on these wheels, you can actually put a bit of Vaseline on them, and then the organisms don't like to grow on Vaseline or fall off. I don't know which. So
Worth a try.
may as well give it a shot. I mean, hopefully we're moving constantly. I would have thought less would grow on it. We've proved that wrong.
Yeah, our hulls are covered right now in Pacific growth.
Pacific growth.
Okay, so here comes step 3, the scary bit again, taking the plug out of the hole and letting the entire Pacific Ocean inside our boat. And then one final point to go. Well, now you just stay there like that. 3, 2, 1. Woo! Good job. Success right there.
We didn't sink.
There's a win.
That's a win for the day. Now we need to find out if it actually got speed through water back.
Okay, we're going to check at the helm and see if Wayfinder is actually showing us speed through water now. And I think it's working. We could be doing like 1 knot through the water. We're only making 3 over ground, so I'm going to claim it as a win. How's the new positive attitude going?
Yes, I think kind of not really working. So we're hand steering because the autopilot is, I don't know, the autopilot's unhappy. It keeps kind of holding for 2 minutes and randomly turning off and beeping at us. So we said, screw that. We're going to hand steer the rest of the Pacific. We've got 100% battery though. So we are, you can hear it in the background, we are making water, which is good news because we managed to use up 1 tank and we haven't made any more water since we've been going pretty much.
Yeah, like once maybe?
Maybe we did one, yeah, we did one 1 hour session or something. So either way, we're now starting to fill our tank up again, which is good news. And then you've told me I stink, so I have to go into the sea. It's a bit unfair. We've been getting these little growths. We'll show you them in a minute, I think. And yeah, we're going to jump in, have a swim and try and clean them off.
Yeah, we're literally trying to do whatever we can to increase our boat speed. So we're like, well, if we're not going anywhere anyway, we may as well put the generator away. And then if we're just drifting, we may as well try and clean the hulls a little bit and see if we get like a half a knot more.
We're in 2 knots. Yeah. And we're not even going really through the water. That's mostly current. So we may as well make use of it.
All right, your turn first.
I'll go first. I'll encourage the sharks in and then you can take over.
I'll be the bait later on, thanks. So we've run a line from the bow to the stern that is tied on at both ends that we can kind of hold on to or just drag ourselves along with. And then we've also got a safety line at the back so that if we accidentally miss that, we can grab that one. I don't know how easy this is going to be in the swell, because although it's not much when you're in the water and you're right next to the hull of a boat, it could be a little bit slammy. So we're just going to do like a cursory go at it. If we can get like one line scraped off even slightly, then surely that's going to help. Good work.
I didn't die.
Your turn.
Graceful.
All right, productive day on the boat continues. Our next job is to jump in and have a look at our port engine. So we kind of alluded earlier to the fact that we'd had a little bit of engine failure. And basically, we tried to be really proactive and do good preventative maintenance. So before we left Panama, we flushed all of the coolant out of this engine and replaced it. It was the old kind of green stuff. You get coolant in green and in red, and apparently green is bad and red is good, and you definitely don't want to mix the two. We had green coolant in here, and we had always meant to flush it out and replace it with red and never got around to it. So we thought, right, before we do a Pacific crossing and we rely on our engines, let's get it sorted. So did that, but I must have not run, every time I ran the engine up to temperature to get the two sides of the coolant, however it works, to mix and flush through, I must not have run it for long enough, must not have got the engine up to temperature enough, because when I thought it was clear and empty of all of the green muck, filled it up with red, and I think on day 6 of our passage, there was a massive problem, it overheated, and it turned out that there was still some green in there. So we haven't used it since. I'm going to jump in now, flush it a couple more times, and see if we can get rid of everything that's in there.
All right, what have we got? All fixed, all finished?
Oh, yeah, it's perfect now. Just run it.
I figured it'd be that easy.
So I have drained out the coolant that was in there, which was quite cool because it was definitely mixed green and red. But if the light was shining on it, it looked very, very green. And if it was backlit, it looked very, very red. So it's magic. So now we need to run it up to temperature, which I've now learned is more than 5 minutes. So let's run it for like 20 minutes. That'll get us across the Pacific Ocean a little bit further.
In gear.
Maybe it'll be warm enough to kind of mix up everything that's in there, and then we can drain it again and again and again and again. See what we get.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about all of this. I kind of feel like coolant is a very important factor to, things not exploding or burning out or head gaskets going or so many other things that could go wrong. So, okay, we'll fire it up and see what happens.
Well, I feel like this is Groundhog Day coming to deliver the bad news at night again. And now that I say that, I have deja vu that I have said that before. Ironic. Engine problems. Big problems. We turned on the port engine to try and bring it up to temperature to flush all of the coolant through, and then we were going to drain it again. And instantly there was like crazy clattering, banging noise sounding like something was about to explode. So it was like, stop, kill the engine. So we turned the engine off. We don't have the mechanical knowledge to know enough of what that is. Our best guess is we could have blown a head gasket. We could have damaged a piston. Either way, definitely not something that we can fix underway. And to be honest, doesn't sound like something that's going to be a cheap fix at the other end. That's a very, very scary thought. And when you kind of pile that on top of everything else that we're struggling with, the finances of all of the repairs that we have and the impact that that could have on our future cruising is a little bit terrifying. But we're doing our best to stay positive, to enjoy what we can. Medium term, we have to think about our arrival. We only have one engine now and it has an oil leak, so we can't rely on that one. So we're going to try and just sail the rest of the way, no engine use whatsoever. We'll drift if we have to. And then hopefully with one engine, we can maneuver enough to get an anchor down when we arrive. We may need to think about going to a different island, which has got an easier bay to drop the hook in, but we've got a week to figure that out. But yeah, it is not ideal. In the short term, yeah, we're drifting. We've put the Genoa back out again, and just at this very moment, the wind has picked up from 9 knots to 13, and so we're going at 3.5 instead of 3. So there's a win. So I'm just going to focus on that. The moon is beautiful. The stars are lovely. The swell is pretty minimal.